Matikela, welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I want us to talk about Bongani Ntanzi and Baloyi. Oh my God, the drama and everything that is happening in that courtroom is way out of control at this point. Because tell me why that in the courtroom, uh, drama surrounding the matter of Senzo Meyiwa, something very subtle happened. Um, and many people watching may have completely missed it, but I don't think it's something that we should be not paying attention to. But if you slow the moment down and examine the questions carefully, you start seeing, or you start to see something um, fascinating unfolding between State Prosecutor George Baloyi and I choose number 2, Bongani Ntanzi, who is on the witness box currently, because this was not just another question about phone numbers. It's a lot, okay? It's a lot, and it's exposing a lot of things, right? It was a moment that exposed the delicate chess game happening inside the courtroom of Judge Ratamu. And once you understand what happened, the entire exchange starts to look very different for you. Let's break it down quickly because, wow, Sana. So Baloyi started or began asking Ntanzi about a particular cell phone number. The question seemed simple when he was asking it. How did you know this number? At first glance, it sounded like a routine cross-examination question, but something interesting happened. Ntanzi responded that he had seen the number written on a piece of paper. Now, here is where the moment becomes important, because in a normal cross-examination, the next logical question from the prosecutor would have been something very obvious, or would have been obvious who owns the number. But that question never came. Baloyi skipped it. Baloyi skipped it, and that's where the strategic tension in the courtroom quietly began to build. Because if you think the strategic tension was just something, because if you think about it carefully, so that missing question creates a powerful implication. If the prosecutor never asked who owns the contact number, why? Why is he not asking that question? And why is he not asking Ntanzi and be direct with him? Does it mean that he already knows the answer to the question that is so obvious that he's supposed to ask? And if he already knows the answer, why avoid asking the question in front of the court? Why is that question not being asked in an open court? For a brief moment, it looked like the questioning was heading toward that exact issue. But then something else happened. Defense advocate, no, it was not a defense. It was Sibanda. Sibanda leaned toward Baloyi, sorry. Sibanda leaned toward Baloyi and whispered something to Baloyi. Second later, the entire direction of the questioning changed. I don't know if you guys noticed that. Baloyi abandoned that line completely and moved to another point, because that is his strategy. Whenever Ntanzi puts him in a tight corner, he abandons whatever they were busy with and move on to something else. That's what he does. I don't know if you've noticed that. For seasoned trial watchers, that moment was extremely revealing, because sudden shifts like that often means something important just happened behind the scenes. Either the question was becoming dangerous, or the answer might have created bigger problems than expected. But that wasn't the only issue. That was not the only issue unfolding inside the courtroom. The state also began raising a completely different allegation now. Okay, that Ntanzi had possession of a cell phone while he was in custody, and this allegation is something that they cannot prove. And also, this allegation is problematic in so many levels and in so many ways, and is problematic, not only supposedly problematic for Ntanzi, but problematic for the SAPS department at large, and for the police station and the people that were on duty when Ntanzi was doing routines in these police stations, because they kept changing police station where he was. It is problematic in so many levels. I don't know if Ubaloyi is aware or is noticing of that. And also, now on the surface, that might sound like a straightforward accusation, right? But legally, it opens much bigger question, because if someone is alleged to have had a cell phone inside a police custody for months, because this is a situation of June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. And then on the 21st of February, that's when they got hold of the phone. What was happening for 9 months? Why was no one for plus minus 9 months noticing that Ntanzi has a phone? When wasn't Ntanzi not being searched? In this police station that he was doing up and down, changing police station, do you want to tell me all these politicians were not doing their job? Is that what it is? Because if that is the case, then something is wrong with the police stations. The responsibility doesn't only fall on the accused, which is Bongani Ntanzi. It raises serious institutional questions. How did the phone get there to begin with? How did it remain there for 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months? And perhaps the most uncomfortable question of all, if Ntanzi was being transferred between police stations, as the testimony suggests, how did multiple facilities fail to detect the cell phone? Every time a detainee moves between police stations, standard procedure requires access control, security checks, booking procedure. So if a cell phone really existed in that environment for months, then it means something inside the system failed. And that's exactly why the concept of chain of custody becomes critical in a case like this. Because when prosecution present digitally evidence, especially photos and photo data, especially something that they need to prove, they must prove several things: where the device came from, who handled the device, who stored it, who examined the device, and whether the data could have been altered. Without that chain, digital evidence can become highly contested. But there is another layer to this courtroom story that makes the situation even more complicated. The name Mabena. Mabena was a sergeant who was the arresting officer of Bongani Ntanzi the first time he got arrested on the 16th with Sergeant Mugani, which means he cannot appear in court because Mabena is deceased. I mean, Mabena is deceased, meaning that we can't have him speaking for himself. He cannot confirm anything. He cannot deny anything. And most importantly, he cannot be cross-examined. In legal terms, that creates a serious limitation, because evidence connected to someone who is no longer alive becomes much harder to test in court. And that is why some people that are watching the case or watching the trial believe the courtroom is now entering a very delicate phase, where the different pieces of evidence are starting to intersect. Phone numbers, photos, custody allegations, and witness credibility. Meanwhile, Judge Ratamufatleng listening to every detail, and this is where many people misunderstand how trials actually work. Judges rarely reveal their thinking during the proceedings, right? But unfortunately, when it comes to Judge Rata, we can't give him that credit, because he has shown that he has taken the state side. Do you understand? But they are constantly evaluating three things. That is what they are supposed to do, the presiding officers: consistency, credibility, and whether the evidence is being presented actually proves anything material. sometimes the most important moment in a trial are not, sorry, the loud confrontations. They are the quiet strategic moves, the questions that are asked, and sometimes even more importantly, the questions that are not asked are also important, because in a courtroom where what is left unsaid can sometimes reveal more than what is spoken. And that is exactly why observers of the Senzo Meyiwa trial continue to watch these moments so closely, because somewhere inside this exchange, the truth of what really happened may finally begin to emerge. And that is exactly how it looks like as we are watching, as people that are watching the case. I don't know about you, but that is just me, and that is exactly what I've noticed. I want to hear your views. Let's talk about this quick comment section. What are your thoughts when it comes to that? Thank you so much. I'll see you on our next video. Bye-bye.